Welcome back to another episode of Sound Pals Go to the Movies. This is another Throwback Thursday review, and today I'm going to be reviewing As Good as It Gets. And just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. A single mother waitress and a misanthropic author and a gay artist form an unlikely friendship after the artist is assaulted in a robbery. So let's begin with my first pro. Cast for this movie is small but has huge talent. First, we have Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Shirley Knight, and many new faces that are now well known. Also, did you see Harold Ramis as the doctor? That was a nice Easter egg. So this movie is good to watch, to play spot the familiar faces before they were well known. But back to the size of the cast. It's small and can be summed up in a triangle between Jack Nicholson, who played Melvin, the grumpy OCD neighbor of Simon Bishop, played by Greg Kinnear, and then Helen Hunt, who plays Carol, the waitress. Who makes Melvin change? Well, actually, that is the dog who sparks that change, but we will talk about it later. The story revolves mostly around these three characters, and Melvin is the key to fixing their lives when he is the one that seems to have his life not straight due to his OCD and fears that push him away from social interactions. But to him, the more he stays away from people, the better he is. And that's when Carol comes in to change it. Next point is the character development from Melvin. We can trace it to the dog Verdell, who is owned by his neighbor Simon. We see Melvin at the beginning of the film trying to get rid of the dog, but after Simon's injury, we see Simon's art dealer make Melvin take in the dog for a while. We see a few scenes from here that slowly crack Melvin's shell, and the scene that seals the deal is after they are eating at Carol's job. When he sits closer to keep an eye on the dog while the kids are playing with him, Melvin smiles out of joy. After this, we see them walking home. We see the dog imitate how Melvin avoids the cracks on the sidewalk, and that makes Melvin feel that someone does understand him and even tells the dog never to change how he is. But it is Melvin that is being changed. We see him become more attached to the dog even after Simon returns home. He still needs to see the dog, but the seed has been planted. From here, he starts to do nice things for people and eventually allows himself to open up to try to go after Carol in a romantic way. Carol also only sees him as a bitter old man, but eventually she does see his kind heart, and that is how she knows that he can learn to change. In the last scene after the kiss, they are walking down the street and he's walking on the side that has cemented squares while she's walking on the brick side of the sidewalk. But when the bakery opens, he lets her in, so he has to take a step back. He looks down and finds himself stepping on the brick side with the crack. To his surprise, everything is fine, cracks a smile, and he just walks right into the bakery. Next is the music by Hans Zimmer. The music is not over the top. It actually blends in really well to the point that the movie is trying to convey. You can't even notice sometimes where the music is playing. So there's parts that you don't notice, but it still livens up the film and gives it an additional help that it needs. So Zimmer did his job. So this film can be seen as a love story or a person changing his ways to finally be able to accept love in his life. And by using the art visuals and the drawings and the music, it actually does get the point across. You start out by hating Melvin, but then at the end, you are actually suddenly rooting for him while you're still not fully understanding him, just like Carol. Now on to my cons. The portrayal of Melvin's condition, the OCD, and the fear of social interaction with others makes him behave the way he does with people, being rude, and this is kind of unfair for people who do suffer from this illness in real life. I would have liked it if they gave him a made-up illness, maybe a mixture of different conditions and medications that actually make him act this way around other people. Then when Carol comes into the picture, he stops taking his meds and is forced to deal with his fears and conditions by himself, which he does for Carol, which allows him to find love. Next on is how we learned about Simon's childhood trauma, and then Melvin tries to tell us that he had also a similar experience with his dad, but that he is suddenly stopped by Carol. I would have liked it to see if later on he would have opened up to Simon, telling him, I know what you're going through. I went through this as a child and this is my story. In that sense, we see him opening up to Simon and we kind of understand where Melvin is coming from too. And also this would have given Simon and Melvin another thing to bond over, not just the dog. And eventually Simon would have basically been able to tell Carol, you know what, give the guy a chance or give the guy a break because he did go through this. And then Carol would have opened up and said, I did not know. So in a sense, it's another ploy that you could put in there, sort of Melvin's hidden secret or thing that he's holding back, and that could have been linked to his fears or his OCD. So my grade for this movie is going to be a solid 7 out of 10. I think this movie is great. We see Jack acting as a jerk, and for Helen Hunt to come in and make him change for love, but there are also some things that could have been changed to make the film more interesting for present day movie fans. So that does it for this review for As Good as It Gets. Please join us next time where we're going to review Easy Rider.
Here's the first of the day, fellas, to old D.H. Lawrence. Indians.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.